Alright, so today I want to kind of go into some of the things we need to think about as lower income people trying to live, financially smart lives. So here are some things that we need to think about to prepare us for the future so we're not caught off guard and so that we have a game plan and we're not in panic mode later on. So here are some of the things that I want to talk about. It comes up all the time. You have a vehicle, at some point you're going to need to replace the battery. Last time we replaced the battery, my husband and I were kind of like, oh my goodness, prices have gone up. What hasn't these days? For a typical 3-year battery, I think is what you can get for a warranty. You're looking at, well, it depends on the car. So I'm not even going to throw a number out. We have a minivan, so it may be a little bit different than anything else. Trying to get a battery that has a warranty is pretty good. For the most part, a lot of what we've dealt with in batteries seems to be between the 2 and 3 year mark. So we get the 3-year if we can do it. Okay. I believe it cost us over $200 last time we did it. So $200 divided up for 3 years, you're looking at making sure that you put aside, I'm going to put the math here because I do not have the brain power to do this today. So you're going to put this amount aside. There's other things that come up frequently that we need to start thinking about and saving for. Okay? For example, we just replaced our car. The $10,000 that we kind of had in our mind that would help us replace a car when the time was needed was not enough at all. So now I am thinking ahead and I'm thinking, okay, my last van lasted me about 10 years. I'm going to hope that my current van will last me 10 years. And in 10 years, inflation is probably still going to come up. So if it went up if it doubled, it did double in the last 10 years, we're going to double that again for a used van. So instead of $20,000 for a new vehicle, we're looking at $30,000. Well, if I double it, it'll be $40,000. I'm looking at saving $30,000, and then in 10 years, I will have almost all adults. I can assess at that point if getting a minivan is going to still be worth it for me. I happen to love minivans. I don't really like other cars. I just don't like the way they drive. But whatever, doesn't matter. We're going to move on. Minivans. I'm going to look at possibly just saying, I need to replace this. I don't know what our circumstances are going to be. I know nothing. $30,000, that's what we're going to save. 10 years, $30,000, that's $3,000 a year that I need to be putting aside for a van. So we need to divide that up by 12 and look at this things that we need to be replacing constantly and saving for. Alright, so what else is there? There are multiple things. We're going to talk about laptops next. Is a laptop a luxury when you have a poverty income budget? For me, yes and no. It is a luxury, but it is also a tool I use in order to help bring in income for my family. So therefore, if I'm going on that principle, any amount I make for any online jobs should have a percentage taken out to replace anything needed. Things like the camera I am filming on, the laptop that I edit on and upload on and do all other things on because I don't use my phone. Here's another one. Definitely in a day and age when phones are unfortunately a necessity of life. There's very few people that can get away with not having a cell phone. We've tried kind of seeing what we can do, but there's so much that depends on a cell phone. A cell phone number, a cell phone, identification even. And so it's one more expense that we're looking at having on. So what do we need to do to be prepared to save that? You can definitely categorize all of these things as individual. sinking funds for replacement, and then have it very specific. Or you can kind of look at it as an average of every 5 years this is going to need to be replaced, and therefore this is what we're looking at cost-wise. If you rely heavily on tax return for these things like we do, that is something definitely to consider. However, I think as we get into harder and harder financial times, I think it's going to be less and less likely to rely so much on that. So what can we do? What can we start doing to be prepared for that so we're not caught off guard, and reduce even the thought of pulling the credit card out for situations like this, because it's not good. It's not good unless you have the cash to pay it back at the end of the month and then you earn the points using that credit card. But don't ever do that unless you are capable of doing that. If you are capable of putting something on your credit card because you know you have the cash to pay it off at the end of the month, or in a lot of my cases I will pay it off at the end of the week, like whatever I use my credit card for that week, at the end of the week I just go online, see the balance, and pay it off, because I don't want something to happen and then the money that I had planned to use on the credit card had to get used for that, and then I'm in a conundrum of trying to pay off my credit card fast. Done that before, will not do that again. So you can do this a couple of ways. You can basically say, okay, I need to put $3,000 aside a year. Well, that's only for the band, but I'm throwing a number out, okay? We're throwing a number out. $3,000 a year aside. Actually, I'm going to do $3,600 because I need easy math. We're going to say we're going to put $3,600 aside every single year for things that need replacing. Batteries, refrigerators, appliances, car, anything like that. And then you're going to break that number up into monthly increments. Okay, so you're looking at $300 a month to put aside to replace these things. If that seems like a lot to you, because it does to me, like my first thought is there is no room in the budget for that, then we need to figure out something, because what happens when we get to that point and something has to be replaced? It may be something cheaper at this year, but it's going to be more expensive next year. So if that's the case, what can we do? Is there some income that we need to be bringing in? Is there some expenses that need to be cut? Is there is there some tweaking, rearranging of numbers that need to be had? This is the kind of thing that you want to start thinking about today. You don't want to be caught off guard later on. And don't just think about things that need replacing, like appliances or anything like that. Even something like a roof. And definitely check your insurance policy to see if something like that will help be covered. You know, we think about things like medical and catastrophe where you have an emergency fund for, but there are some things that we can be prepared for that we don't need the emergency fund. The emergency fund is, I did not expect this coming. Oh no, what do we need to do? There's going to be things like that. There's going to be a pipe that busted and flooded a basement, and now you got to get a basement pumped out. I'm throwing something weird out that I've never dealt with before, so if that sounds weird, probably is, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. You could have an earthquake that will knock down your back patio, and you're going to have somebody completely replace it. That can be something that may not be covered by your insurance, but will need to be happened. Or a tree can fall on your shed and damage your only shed where the washer and dryer was, and now your washer and dryer are exposed to the elements. Those are emergencies. Those are things that wasn't necessarily foreseen. So what things can you see that you will need to replace, and what can you do today to start preparing for that? It's a shorter video today, but definitely some things to think about. Alright, so that's going to be it for today's video. I want you to think about it. I want you to kind of write out anything that you have purchased expectedly but unexpectedly in the last few months. Appliances, cars, um, laptops, things like that. What can you do to be prepared next time it happens?